Of the letter is the secret meeting that changed rap music and destroyed a generation.
Damn.
So it says, hello. After more than 20 years, I finally decided to tell the world what I witnessed in 1991, which I believe was one of the biggest turning points in popular music and ultimately American society. I have struggled for a long time weighing the pros and cons of making my story public, as I was reluctant to implicate the individuals who were present that day. So I've simply decided to leave out the names and all the details that may risk my personal well-being and that of those who were, like me, dragged into something they weren't ready for.
Damn.
Hold on, let me
So we gonna tell a story.
We gonna tell the story. We ain't scared.
You know what I'm saying? What they gonna do?
They after us, not just playing.
Look, that black van.
So look, so he says, between the late 80s and early 90s, I was what you may call a decision maker with one of the more established companies in the music industry. I came to Europe in the early 80s and quickly established myself in the business. The industry was different back then, since technology and media weren't accessible to people like that, like they are today. The industry had more control over the public and had the means to influence them any way it wanted.
Right.
This may explain why in early 1991, I was invited to attend a closed-door meeting with a small group of business insiders to discuss rap music's new direction. Rap music's new direction.
Yeah.
Little did I know we would be asked to participate in one of the most unethical and destructive business practices ever seen.
Crazy.
So this was the meeting. The meeting was held at a private residence on the outskirts of Los Angeles. I remember about 25 to 30 people were being there.
Right.
Most of them familiar faces. Speaking of those I knew, we joked about the theme of the meeting, as many of us did not care for rap and failed to see the purpose of being invited to a private meeting to discuss the future of hip-hop.
Talk to him.
Among the attendees was a small group of unfamiliar faces who stayed to themselves and made no attempt to socialize beyond their circle. Based on their behavior and formal appearances, they didn't seem to be from our industry. Our casual chatter was interrupted when we were asked to sign the confidentiality agreement, preventing us from publicly discussing the information presented during the meeting. Needless to say, this intrigued, in some cases, disturbed many of us. The agreement was only a page long, but very clear on matters and consequences, which stated that violating the terms would result in job termination immediately. We asked several people what this meeting was about and the reason for such secrecy, but could not find anyone who had the answers for us. A few people refused to sign and walked out. Nobody stopped them. I was tempted to follow, but curiosity got the best of me.
That's right.
A man who was part of the unfamiliar group collected all the agreements from us. So now it's going to get to the good part because the meeting about to start.
Talk to him, G.
It says, quickly after the meeting began, hold on one second.
Get your popcorn, y'all.
Popcorn, get your pistol. No,
for real though.
Quickly after this meeting began, one of the industry colleagues, who shall remain nameless like everybody else, thanked us for attending. He then gave the floor to a man who only introduced himself by first name and gave no other details about his personal background. I think he was the owner of the residence, but that was never confirmed. He briefly praised all of us for the success we had achieved in our industries and congratulated us for being selected as part of this small group of decision makers. At this point, I began to feel slightly uncomfortable and the strangeness of this gathering. The subject quickly changed as the speaker went on to tell us that the respective companies we represented had invested in a very profitable industry, which could become even more rewarding with our active involvement.
Damn.
He explained that the companies we worked for had invested millions into the building of privately owned prisons, and that our positions of influence in the music industry would actually impact the profitability of these investments. Then he says, I remember many of us in the group immediately looking at each other in awe and confusion. At the same time, I didn't know what a private prison was, but I wasn't the only one. Sure enough, someone asked what these prisons were and what any of this had to do with music. We were told that these prisons were built by privately owned companies who received funding from the government based on the number of inmates.
Mm-hmm.
The more inmates, the more the government would pay these prisons.
Mm-hmm.
It was also made clear to us that since these prisons are privately owned, as they become publicly traded, we'd be able to buy shares. Most of us were taken back by this. Again, a couple of people asked what this had to do with us. At this point, my industry colleague who had first opened the meeting took the floor again and answered our questions. He told us that since our employees had become silent investors in this prison business, it was now in their interest to make sure that these prisons remain filled. Our job would be to help make this happen by making music which promote criminal behavior, rap being the music of choice. He assured us that this would be a great situation for us because rap music was becoming an increasingly profitable market for our companies, and as employees, we'd also be able to buy stocks in these prisons. Immediately, silence came over the room. You could have heard a pin drop. I remember looking around to make sure I wasn't dreaming and saw half of the people with dropped jaws. My daze was interrupted when someone shouted, "Is this a fucking joke?" At this point, things became chaotic.
Right.
Two of the men who were part of the unfamiliar group grabbed the man who shouted and attempted to remove him from the house. A few of us, myself included, tried to intervene. One of them pulled out a gun, and we all backed off. They separated us from the crowd, and all four of us was escorted outside. My industry colleague, who opened up the meeting earlier, hurried out to meet us and reminded us that we had signed an agreement and would suffer the consequences of speaking out about this publicly, or even those who attended the meeting.
Damn.
I asked him, why was he involved with something so corrupt? And he replied, it's bigger than the music business and nothing we can do. And no, it's bigger than the music business and nothing we'd want to challenge without risking consequences. We all protested as we walked back into the house. I remember word for word the last thing he said. It's out of my hands now. Just remember you signed an agreement. He then closed the door behind him. The men rushed us to our car and actually waited until we drove off the property.
Damn.
So this meeting, bro.
Now that's a lot for a meeting right there.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, and this person later on, he said, you know, this person actually ended up leaving the music industry after this happened. A few years after this, he ended up leaving the music industry.
Okay.
And he'd say he just, like, you know, over the years he just felt guilty because he said as he sat back and he watched these plans come to a reality
Over 2 decades.
he sat back and was like, wow, they really pulled it off.
Yeah.
They really pulled this off. He was like, they were told not to sign any more political rappers, any more rappers that had messages in their music.
No positivity.
It was all to be gangster rap music that they promoted and put out.
So if you wonder where Brand Nubians went, where Poor Righteous Teachers went, where Public Enemy went, where KRS-One went, and all sorts of groups like that was talking, even Queen Latifah and Moni Love and those, you know
everybody.
What I'm saying? It's a back door.
Yeah, anything that was harmless, fun rap, you know, anything that had a message in it had to go.
Yeah, that's why if you even notice though,
we talk about that all the time.
Even be brief with it, you know what I'm saying? Those charms that came out like maybe in 1988, 89, the African charms, those they lasted for about 2 years and they disappeared real quick. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. Now, after reading all this, you know, it actually made me feel a few different ways. The first emotion I felt was shocked because I was definitely taken back by this, just knowing the level of evil that's involved by even thinking of a plan like this. You know what I'm saying? The second emotion I felt was anger. Anger because it's not enough for them to exploit our culture and make all the money off of it. Because let's keep it real, the industry has never been favorable towards the artists. Never. But they're going to go beyond the artists to get the artists to influence and lure in the consumer, which they knew at the time were mainly minorities.
Yep.
In other words, keep promoting gangster rap so that the youngsters will be influenced by them, which in turn will incite them to want to act like them, and it's a very good chance they'll end up in their prison.
Yeah.
So they're getting paid twice. They're getting paid from the artists they signing, and then they're getting paid from the people that these artists influence that goes to prison trying to be like these artists.
Yeah.
So they making a killing.
A killing.
They're using the music business to promote their private prison business.
My man is right there talking that right. 1988, a man named Tom Beasley, man. That's the co-founder of the corrections for Corporation of America. That's the CCA. You know what I'm saying? Excuse my French. I'm reading this thing right there real quick. It's the CCA. So in 1988, he founded that, and this is in straight concert with the same thing. So it's like the music business. You do what you do on your side. And over here with the corrections facilities, we're going to do on this side and now in 1970, there was 500 prisons. You know what I'm saying? Only 500 prisons in the United States. To this day, there's 1,700 prisons right now. That means big business. I'm talking about that done flippled over. You know what I'm saying? If flippled over is a word. Because they're making a lot of money off of these things per inmate. You know what I'm saying? So getting with the same thing of the music, it all went hand in hand, and we just partying at the same time.
So us as the artists is the tool they use.
Yeah.
The music is the bait. Yep. And the young consumers are the prey. It's a cold game.
Cold game, bro.
Cold game. Then I felt sad. Sad because everything we seem to try to create, we always seem to give it away. We're always being tricked and deceived into believing that they have our best interests at hand when clearly they never have and they never will. They never will have our best interests at hand. It's blow after blow after blow after blow.
What he said on Eminem, but I am going to replace the part with Phil Valentine. I'm going to replace that with something else that I want you to hear from someone who was from the inside of the industry. Okay, there is a reason why his voice will sound warped. Okay, and now it is of poor quality, and if I could make the sound better and clearer, I would, but I cannot. So I ask that you please forgive me for the poor quality of the audio, but please try to listen. All right, they're revealing some information that is not meant for us to know. Now, this was uploaded like 10 years ago, and I had re-uploaded this in its entirety on my original channel. And I am really shocked that I was still able to find this, even though I really had to dig in the YouTube crates. I'm really shocked that this was not removed. So please, if you can, try to pick up what's being said, although the audio is really bad and it kind of gets worse, unfortunately. But really, try to hear what's being said. It's very, very interesting, and I think we should know about this.
I'm not going to talk about the history of the Illuminati. I want to talk about the Illuminati and how they canceled out or disparaged themselves from this hip-hop curse. Now, the John Doe business, it grows into one of the biggest things of all times, where it could be created as a single wealth entity. Then we're making money off of it, but the money is not what's scaring us. This thing can grow global, and these kids of the ghetto can come up from nothing and become multimillionaires. What is that going to do for our stability of control? We can't control that. They had the power to control that. And without control, the Illuminati would lose its power. So, a guy named David Loudon was the first guy to bring this forward over in Scotland, England, in a meeting. He sat down with the chairman and he brought this up to the table. And he laughed at it to think that something as small as this could be so huge and so major. But once we start seeing the movements with this black power. Everybody's talking about saying no to drugs and unity, and these red, black, and green stickers and shirts are being sold with medallions of Africa, and it was becoming a movement. We had to put our foot down hard. It was ruining our structure. So what we did was, we said, okay, we had guys on the inside of the music business, and we said we had to focus in on this hip-hop genre. People and parents didn't like it anyway. It was juvenile, but they ignored it because they didn't see the danger in it. So we had to bring the danger element full circle.
Oh, man.
And put it right in their front papers. So, our first pawn is a fellow named Jerry Hall. He works for the Illuminati. But he can't be an Illuminati because he's not pure blood. But he works for us. He comes in, we activate Jerry. And he's talking to a guy named Eric Wright. And he's telling Eric how to change his money into legal money. And he talks to Eric about getting this record company and how to do his finances for him. Eric is a lust lover. He loves nothing. Only thing he cares about, well, he lusts about his money. He never loves anything.
You go about easy.
They bring in this group, and you know what happens after that? They create this NWA. They were making these mixtapes that Tipper Gore was getting out of Oakland. And she was the one that's saying that this rap gets out to the public, it's going to destroy our youth. And the Illuminati knew right away, we got to get this out to the public. And that's what we did. We went through a label that didn't even exist. They just did television commercial jingles, and we put out this music. And it was a smash. The FBI launched an investigation, the lyrics was abrasive, and it was on your front page. Now the parents are seeing the danger in hip-hop. And now the communities want to control it. And it went from having a positive message with nasty lyrics to just nasty lyrics. And you can thank Jerry for maintaining that. And eventually it's going to spread. It's going to become contagious like wildfire. Now look back. When it first started back in like 84, they were saying peace, brother and sister. Now everybody's calling each other's niggers and bitches. It spread it like wildfire. Now, after this, the world being changed. Here comes this other slash pimp slash police informant slash breakdancer named Ice T. Okay, he has this cop killer record with this rock group he has called Body Count, which they actually paid him to do. They paid him to perform with this rock band. He got paid $1.7 million to perform with this band that they wanted to bring out. They said, do one song with him. And if you do this one song, we're going to extend your contract, and we're going to give you 2 more albums. And we're going to pay you $1.7 million if you do an album with them after the one song. If the one song's accepted, then we're going to put this money with you. And it's spread. We tried to control hip-hop the other way. We tried with Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch, Vanilla Ice, and think about it. Vanilla Ice got a multi-million-dollar movie after one record. He won an American Music Award over Mariah Carey. Okay? He won an American Music Award over Mariah Carey's debut album, which was a smash hit. And here's a rap guy who comes out of nowhere, but the black community didn't accept him. And if they don't accept you, we can't use you. They accepted what Jerry did with this NWA. So now, we're in the driver's seat. Now, here comes Suge Knight, Eric the Bodyguard, decides to confront Eric Wright and take away some of the artists and start his own thing. So he jumps Eric and makes him sign under duress a piece of paper, and Jerry goes back and he's like, what's going on here? So Jerry contacts our people, and our people gets in contact with what's going on over there. Comes to find out, this Death Row Records was like a blessing in disguise, because now we have a carbon copy of the other side, which is David Kent, who was really the heads and brains of this operation. He was running another sensation that we already had in place. So by the time the Ice-T Top Killer record was out, and the vice president took over besides Tipper Gore, we've already went through that. What that did was push that CD and that record through the roof. They didn't attack Warner Brothers. They didn't attack Sire Records. They said, Time Warner. Time Warner owns everything. That's the Illuminati. They pointed right at us and said, Time Warner, put this record out. And when they did that, the people was all outraged at Time Warner for doing that. And it was a way to extort fear. We put fear in everybody's mind in this hip-hop, fear that they're going to do this, fear that they're going to do that and take over our children. So they took the song off. And it was put out anyway throughout everybody else's music. They were rebelling against what we did. They were rebelling against the government. They were rebelling against the police even heavier. Now the positive guys, they're not talking about Africa no more. They're talking about killing police and selling drugs.
Okay, now let me just go ahead and fast forward. I'm skimming through this. Know that in this audio, he talks about Bone Thugs and Harmony, P. Diddy, the Illuminati, and I'm going to post the link, so if you want to listen to this in full, if you are able to listen to this, because like I said, this is very poor audio, and it's obvious that there's some voice warping. But if you can, if you've got some really good headphones, really try to listen to this. Although I do warn you, the sound may affect your headphones and affect your ears. But if you are curious enough, try to listen to this. So let me fast forward through this. But there are 3 parts, just so you know.
Now, after this Nas, when we can come, bring him in, embrace him, and we'll try to work through him and see what we have. But this soul is confused. He doesn't want fame, he doesn't want anything, but I don't know what his idea was, but he wasn't going anywhere. He was never going to be the guy to be out in front and be the threat that the rest of the nation would have to worry about. He was very quiet, so we didn't have to worry about him. But there was this Jay-Z guy, and he's running around, flashing diamonds, and everyone seems to be flocking to him. So we decided to bring him in. He was very intelligent and very polite. He's got a charismatic way of thinking, and I said to myself, this could be on White Knight. And right when we're working with this guy, here comes Eminem. He's got a mixtape, he's got a rap battle, and Dr. Dre decides he wants to open up a record label. He goes to Paul Rosenberg and said, I'm going to create this record label, and I'm going to sign this guy. And once he did, we had to figure out, we couldn't mess this up because this guy was good. He had black crowds going crazy for him. No one Caucasian brought this guy to temptation. This could change the world. This would change music. Everything could be done through him. But we have to do this right. And that's exactly what we did, step by step. We dyed his hair blonde. We made him wear these funny costumes and told him, you have to be more funny. We have to promote you as being comical, as you're not serious, as a joke, so that the white teens and the younger parents wouldn't fear you as much, and we could sell you over to the other side. And then once we do, then we'll slow it down, and then you can go back to being who you are. And trust us, stick with us, you're going to make millions of dollars. Millions. And it worked. It was a hard process, getting him to believe in us. But as he started seeing money come in, he was able to take care of his family. Him coming from poverty was our anchor of success, because it's either this or you go back to nothing when you have nothing. You made it this far, listen to us, and we'll get you through. And that was the beginning stages of the termination of hip-hop.
Now, I don't understand why the audio, it gets warped even more. I don't understand. If I could stretch it out, I could, but that only makes it sound worse. But please try to listen to the very end.
Now, moving along to the guy they call Eminem. Now, this guy comes in, he does what everybody wants him to do, but he wants to be a credible MC. But he has to do what we say, and we'll take away his daughter. You see, that's his only fear, losing his daughter. This guy is addicted to pills. He's known as a manic-depressant. What judge would let him take care of a child? Even his mother would take the child, or her parents. It wouldn't be in his custody because of his lifestyle. And he's admitted to this in court, that he takes these depressant pills, and he has an addiction. Why does he still have custody of his daughter? Because he's protected. Anyone who opposes him has come up on the wrong end of the stick. Okay? Ja Rule and this Murder Inc., they're doing their thing. In comes Eminem. He has a hit movie, he's doing this thing. Both sides are doing quite well. There's no frictions, no problem. Everybody's doing well. Eminem does a song with Jay-Z. And that's when the public says, okay, well, he's done a song with one of the most credible artists in the rap game. Now, what people didn't know is in the days, Eminem on mixtapes would diss rappers like Jay-Z, but we had to suppress those songs because we didn't want him to offend the black public. Because that's where the majority of his respect is going to come from, to on any toes, but that's the kind of songs Eminem makes. All his songs like My Name Is, and Stan, and structured songs that had meaning. People don't know that most rappers have guys that help them construct songs. Other rappers, because Eminem is what they would call a diss hit. He makes diss records, and he's really good at it. But formulating songs and structuring bars takes training. And you have people who've made songs before help you construct songs. So Stan was helped and constructed. My Name Is was constructed. The Real Slimshady was a constructed song. Now Eminem can make songs on his own without having anyone come in and construct it. But sometimes he's in a funk and he needs an idea to write a song around. So that's how it happens in a company. So with him having this type of success, he's still not really accepted in the rap community. His first problem.
But he got Dre.
Jermaine Dupri comes into prominence. Okay? And Jermaine Dupri is talking about Dr. Dre. So Eminem tells him, look, Dre, I'll write this song. I'll do a verse and we'll do a verse together. You know, Jermaine Dupri's the producer. They'll put the record out on a mixtape. So therefore, it won't go on an album. If they, if it's a negative response to it, we'll just say that's a mixtape.
Okay, I remember that.
The response came out the way that it did. Everybody jumped because they couldn't believe Eminem was actually with Dr. Dre talking about someone else that they knew in the community. And Jermaine Dupri comes out and tells Eminem and the whole public, you have no credibility. No one believes you. You're a joke. And it hit home. So everybody was laughing at Eminem like, oh, he's a joke. So instead of really responding to the song, he went to find people he could battle. So he picks this thing out with cannabis. That doesn't take off because no one's really into cannabis. The rapper. So he moves to a different target. And he couldn't find anyone to bite. So he gets himself involved in something so massive that it almost ended his life. The Dr. Dre comes on and says, I'm going to have to get on board with you with this signing of 50 Cent. He signed 50 Cent exclusively to get involved in the beef with Ja Rule and Irv Gotti. They knew what came along with it, but Eminem used this to prove I'm credible. Who's more credible as a street rapper than 50 Cent? Go back and watch. Once they signed him and they signed 50 Cent, everything changed. Eminem's whole demeanor changed. He was a tough guy. He's lifting weights. He's getting more tattoos. He was thinking he was 50 Cent. It's all in his mindset. He's talking tough. He's telling Ja Rule on a record, I would kill you. I would pay money to have you killed. And no one in the black community said anything about this. That a white guy said he could have another black guy killed. It was accepted. Why? Because he had 50 cents. And the guy, well, he's with 50 cents. It makes sense. They're beefing. It's a beef. It's a war. And what happened to Ja Rule? Everybody said 50 Cent snitched on him. That's not true. He opposed Eminem, and he opposed the threat with Eminem because of the people he has. So the federal government moved in on him and had him removed because he was threatening Eminem. He had been threatening 50 cents for years. Nobody cared. No federal government was involved. Once Eminem was in place, and one of Eminem's friends out of his group was attacked, federal government moved in and just banned everything that had anything to do with murdering. They stopped them from making songs. That's power. That's something the public needs to know.
Wow.
That's power. You got a beef, we stop you from making songs. And it shows you how things happen behind closed doors. His company had become so powerful that they pretty much buy under the table their own magazines. It's just their artists singing in a magazine. XXL is owned pretty much basically by Interscope. a war with the Source magazine in Zeno. Now, William Scott, that's his real name, he makes this a race war, and he stumbled into something he thought wasn't as big as it really was, but it was really big because he had accidentally hit on the truth. And the truth scares a lot of people in higher places because they didn't want any of this information getting out to the public. He made a mistake that led to exposing some of the facts that we all know today about Eminem, about the cover-ups, about what's going on. But his thing came from a mom and pop stores. They're gone. Where are the hip-hop clubs? They're gone. Everything's changed. But he stopped the smell of the roses once he couldn't get what he wanted anymore. All the music started to change. Your hardcore rappers weren't getting paid anymore what they were used to getting paid. What was hot had been changed to pop music. That's why Eminem challenged Britney Spears, challenged Justin Timberlake, and all these Aguileras. Now look at them. They're still in charge and they're making a lot of money. Justin Timberlake changed his entire image to blend in to be the new music of what will be accepted. Now there's no more albums, there's only singles. And now your music has to sound Euro in order to sell. And if you're into the rapping business or this rap/singing new style that they're approving now, and that is supposed to be the new rap, unless you go through Eminem, you won't be successful.
And remember, as I said, this was uploaded about 10 years ago, okay? Make sure to come back for part 3.